And hello everyone, welcome back to your Lua tutorial. Today we'll be learning about meta methods. So sometimes you want to modify how some things work in your code. For example, if you add two items together, you want to change what add does. So you want to change what the plus symbol does. For example, if you say 5 plus 5, you actually wanted to execute 5 times 5. That is completely possible. So we're going to learn how to basically do that. So let's get started. So let's say we want to add a value in two tables together. To that, we can create a local function, and we can call this add tables, table values. Okay. And then here we can just specify x and y. And now in here, what we want to have happen is it should return x. So this is the table we are passing two tables in. So x dot num plus y dot num. So we're basically saying, okay, add these two values inside of a table together when we add two tables together. Now the two tables can be local tbl1, for example, and that can be equal to something like num is equal to 50. And we can copy this and make table 2 here have a num equal to 10. So in total, we should get 60 from this. Now, the thing is, we cannot just say, let's say local uns for answer is equal to tbl1 plus tbl2. Because by default, Lua doesn't know what to do here. So if we were to say print uns, now we will get an error because you can't just do that. As you can see, it cannot open. Oh wait, that's Python. Whoops, Lua, and we just say main.lua. As you can see, it cannot do it because we don't have a plus symbol to work with tables. So Lua doesn't know how to work with them. So here is where our meta tables comes in. So actually, I didn't notice, but we could do that. There we go. So here we can say local meta table, and it's just something to specify what everything does. So here we have an underscore add. This is for plus symbols, is equal to add table values. That should be an equal symbol. Basically what we're saying here, the plus symbol, the add symbol, that plus there, should do this when we're working with tables. Although it doesn't know tables just yet. We're just saying this add should do that. Now, if you want it to work, what we should do is we should say set meta table. And in the table we want to change, so tbl1, and then the meta table. So this just means whenever table 1 is involved, and actually we should then put this here. So whenever table 1 is involved, we should execute with this values. So in this case, if we do plus here, we run it and we get 60. Because what's happening is we're saying, okay, is table 1 in here? Yes, it is. Now, table 1 has a meta table of underscore add, which means we're changing the plus symbol. This underscore add, that means plus. And we're making it equal to this add table values, this function right there. So we're changing that plus here. Of course, you didn't have to use it. You could have just said local uns, I'm just going to say uns2 here, is equal to add table values. And you could just say tbl1 dot, or you could probably just pass in tbl1 and tbl2. But there are some cases where doing this could actually be what we want. So where we could just use plus symbols because it just makes sense. Of course, we can do more. For example, underscore sub, which means subtract. So you're subtracting from something. And we can make that equal to, and here we can even specify an anonymous function. So function, and then we can just say what it should do instead of passing in the function name here. So it's completely optional. And we can just say x and y again. And here we can go x dot or return x dot num minus y dot num. So it will do exactly the same thing, but it will minus. So now if we want to now it's already being added actually, because table 1 is set to this right here. So it's changing the add and the subtract. So now if we say minus here, and we run this, now we get 40, because it is 50 minus 10, which is 40. And you can do a lot more here. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can kind of go through them as you need them. So here are all the ones you can use. So there's underscore add, which is equal to plus. Then you get underscore sub, which is equal to subtract. Underscore mul for multiply. Underscore div for divide. Underscore mod for modulus. And if you need a refresher on what modulus is, basically it is whenever you divide something, then what is left over is basically being given to you, for in case you may have forgotten. So 5 modulo 4 will return 1. So if I were to just open up my Lua interpreter here, 5 modulo 4. As you can see, we get 1. Because when 5 is being divided by 4, we have 1 left over. And that's what's going on here. So 6 divided by 4 will give 2. 7 divided by, or 7 modulo 4 would give us 3. And an 8 modulo 4 will give us 0. Because 4 or 8 divided by 4 will give us 2 with nothing left over. Anyhow, so that's modulus, for in case you may have forgotten. Pow for power, or power, there we go. And then we have concat. And this is basically for these two things. So when you concat two strings together, those two dots, that's concat. Then we have len, and that's the same as this hashtag. So it will change that hashtag symbol, what that does. There's a lot of things you can do. For example, EQ as well. Basically, if something is equal to something else, so this can compare, you can maybe make it compare two tables together by looping through it and whatnot. So you can change what that does. Larger than, which is basically, or less than, not larger than, my bad, less than, and also less than or equal to, which is this. And you also have, I believe, greater than, which is equal to this, and then greater than or equal to, probably, which is equal to this. So there's a lot of things you can change. I'm not going to go through all of them because, as you can see, there's quite a lot. So yeah. So let me maybe give you an example what that you may encounter here. So let's say both of these has an x and y value. So x, which is equal to, let's say, 33, or both of them will have a different one, and a y, which is equal to 20. And in this x, we can make that equal to 5, and that y, we can make that equal to 9. Okay, so you can kind of imagine these as vectors, where basically you have an x and y value, and like a coordinate, and then you can add them together. So let's say we want to add these two coordinates together. So we can change this add table values, so it can do that. So here we can maybe even return a table, and we can say, or actually let's not return a table, let's just return two values. So we can then say, and I don't want to call him x because that's going to be very confusing. Let's make him v1 and v2 here. So v1.x plus v2.x, and also then v2.y, or actually v1.y plus. So basically it's adding these two together so you can get an x and a y value. If you wanted, you could have passed them into a table like this. It would have been perfectly fine. I just didn't want to. And in here, we get our answer. So I'm actually going to say vic x for vector x and vic y for vector y. Or actually, this would basically be the locations. So then here we can say x, and we can just pass in vic x. And here we can say y on a new line, and we can just pass in vic y. Save that, and now here we can run our Lua file. And this should be add, not subtract. Otherwise we'll be getting an error because subtract doesn't do anything currently. Now if you try and run it, and actually, since I don't really want to figure out how to fix this, let's actually put this inside of a table here, and we can just call this x and make x equal to that, and go here y and make y equal to that. So now we can just have one table that can have all of those values. So we can just call it vector, so just vic, and we can say vic.x and vic.y. Run that, and now we get x 15 and y 29, because 10 plus 5 is 15 and 20 plus 9 is 29. So this is another way it can be very useful. So especially in game development, this can be very useful. So instead of having to create a function or constantly having to rewrite how to add these two tables together, because you might be using tables a lot, you can write a function that will modify how tables are added together. And that is all for Metamethods, guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all again in the next Lua tutorial.